Again, when you're actually attacking with this weapon, you don't have any mobility. You're kind of rooted to your spot. And this is the first charge. That's the... Oh, I think that was the first one. Yeah. And this is the final charge. There's basically 3 versions of it. Where you just tap it, where you just do a slightly more powerful of a side swing, and then there's the other one. And I'm really horrible using the hammer, so that's why I spend a while here just trying to get the practicing a little and showing off. But you can also run while you're charging, and you can do a whirlwind. And if you tap the attack button, there's 3 types of end attacks of the whirlwind you can do. You can either just let the whirlwind end it by itself while you spin around. You can also get it to do several different attacks. If you time it just right, you can make some pretty powerful attacks. I will warn people ahead of time. When I try to fight the Velociprey with this, I am very unskilled at using the Great Hammer, or just the mace, as it's called. I've used it twice. This is the second time I ever used this hammer weapon. But the Velociprey, what you want to do, fast evasive prey, you want to use the charge up, and you want to run up into their face and then unleash hell on them. For a big slow prey, you actually have time to stand still and whack them about. Now, there's another gimmick to the hammer. You can, if you repeatedly smash them on the head, you can stun them. So they'll get goofy stars over their head and they'll be stunned for a certain amount of time. And which will basically just allow you time to pound and wail on them. That's what this weapon's specially made for. If weapons, not weapons, but enemies with like say big carapaces and shells and whatnot, they're weak towards bludgeoning. So when you hit sections that have big shells on them and whatnot. Let's just say there's a dragon with a big shell on its back. Well, if you're hitting its back with this weapon, then you're doing extra damage, and you have an easier chance at breaking the back of it for better loot drops and weakening the enemy. Whereas if you're aiming for a soft underbelly, this weapon isn't going to do too much damage. Basically, with this weapon though, you want to aim for the head. And as you see, first swing, bam. And I try to use all the different attacks, but because these guys are evasive as hell, I don't really connect with many attacks. I should have just stuck with whirlwind only attacks against evasive critters like this, but I just wanted to try to show things off. And I just didn't realize how hard it is to hit things with this weapon, because you have no range. I mean, with the greatsword, you have great range. And the whirlwind attacks, as you've noticed, it drains your stamina, so you want to be careful with it too, or else you'll be left with no stamina, and you'll be screwed. So at this point here, I'm trying to do do the greatsword tactic, where you sheath the weapon and then do an unsheath sort of strike. But that didn't go too well because again you don't have the range for it. Again, the hammer is a great weapon if you can figure out how to use it. It's a tricky weapon to use because you have to stand in front of an enemy or a monster and mash onto their head to stun them. And again, I can understand why the Chief Elders tells you at the starting that just stick to the sword and shield to start with, because the other weapons, well, there's a trick to using them. They're a little bit more advanced, and they're a little bit more unwieldy. It takes some getting used to, at least. But here I wisen up and I just decide to finish them off with whirlwinds. I like the hammer just for its looks and how it attacks. But that was the hammer. Now we'll be moving on to the next weapon. Let's get a nice pose going on here. Unfortunately, I can't use gestures on offline mode, or else I'd do proper poses. Let's see, what do we have this time? And it would seem we have a lance and shield. This, honestly, I've noticed that considering all the fan art done of this game and videos of people fighting monsters of this game, the lance and shield seems to be the most popular choice, mainly because the shield is a heavy shield. It will block any attack in the game, or at least I'm pretty sure it will. Basically, you can block anything as long as you have stamina, and you won't ever take any damage. You're about as safe as you can possibly be. The only thing is that you move ridiculously slowly, and your dodge is now a backstep. But against a big single large monster, this weapon, this weapon's brilliant. I've used a weapon similar to this in Monster Hunter 2, so I have a little practice with using this kind of weapon. Now, you can do forward stabs and we can do upward stabs. As we can imagine, the upward stabs are better for the larger monsters. We can chain them together in 3 strikes. We can also just chain them together however we want, but 3 strikes is the maximum chain. We'll do a few more stabs here and there. Now, if we have the shield forward, we can only do 1 stab. There will be no we can't chain attacks together, and we can't do an upward stab either. So if we want to do an upward stab, we have to put the shield away. And there's one more trick we can do with the lance. We can charge at things. Oh, that baby. Ah, yeah, I'm such a jerk. Now we can just repeatedly charge at things, again and again and again, if we want to. I'm actually going to let this guy live for now. I just wanted to use him as a tester. We can also just charge and push the attack buttons to end our charge early with a stab. Or we can push the circle button just to end the charge without an attack. And that's basically our attacks that we can do. Let's go test this on our prey. Luckily, actually, this is one of the weapons I have practice with, and after I've tried it a bit, I actually kind of like it. I've grown fond of it, to be honest. Well, at least the one in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. Like a special version of this weapon. But again, we'll get into those weapons. I mean, people can freely talk about them in the thread if they want to, but for people who aren't reading the thread, well, it'll be a surprise when you get to them. They'll have a lot of new weapons for Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. And Monster Hunter Tree, they will have 1 new weapon, and they'll have gutted like half the weapons from the game for some reason. Which I'll get into later. There's actually a pretty good reason why they did it. And I thought it was a pretty stupid reason why they did it. But, you know, Wiimote! Anyway, as you can see, this is, it's pretty easy to block with this thing. Problem is your mobility and if you have multiple targets swarming around you. And in general, you're pretty safe behind your shield. And that's just me failing. But you can do some stabs, you can hide behind your shield. I don't know, it's not bad. It's not all bad. But again, the only problem is this is a very slow weapon. So, Velociprey is not exactly the best thing I could be fighting against with this weapon. And I don't trust my charge attack enough to hit these tiny targets. When you're charging, you generally want to pick something that is bigger than a Velociprey, because oftentimes you'll just run by them. More times than not, at least. And the lance still has decent power. Not as powerful as the greatsword or the hammer, but the lance is certainly more powerful than the sword and the shield. But this is like a pure defense weapon anyway, so it'd be absurd if it had more attack power than it already has. But nice and clean kills. Got a few hits on me, but that's just because this weapon isn't exactly a good weapon to kill these tiny little critters with. But moving on to our next weapon. The bowgun. Our first and only ranged weapon in this game. In Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, we will get another ranged weapon type. But remember the unlimited ammo I spoke of? Well, there's like an ammo section here where we can switch up and down if we have various ammo types. You can have various ammo types such as better types of ammo, shotgun spray ammo, explosive ammo, elemental ammo, and status effect ammo. All kinds of neat stuff. So it's a pretty customizable weapon. So you can basically fire when you're not aiming. And we need to press triangle to reload. Just like that. Then we got ammo again. And this is how it looks when you actually aim. Some bow guns will... well, the shots will start to skew to the sides if you fire at too far ranges, making it harder and harder to hit. So you want to get within what I guess you could consider the gun's maximum fire range before bullets start flying off to the sides or just can't reach any further.